Hello and welcome back to the Retail Journey Podcast. I'm Charles Greathouse.
And I'm James Harris. Today we have a very special guest with us, Ashley Caldwell.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So Ashley, you and I go back 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Can't believe it.
10 wonderful years.
We look great. We look great.
Indeed.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me. And obviously, I think the world of you and now of Charles as well, of course.
Thank you.
Assimilation. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yes. So let's see. So I have sort of had, let's call it a 20-year retail career. I worked for probably the first half of it in consumer packaged goods, and then moved into sort of the pharma med device world 10 years ago. So today I work for a large pure play diabetes company called Embecta.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we work with retail pharmacies across the country, helping them do what they do every day, which is serve, the U.S. patient population, particularly those with diabetes. So I love it. It's very rewarding work. And
I have a lot of firsthand experience with Embecta as a type 1 diabetic. So
Sure
your sales materials and everything were really critical when I first was diagnosed. Like I just needed to research and learn how to manage this new exciting adventure.
That's right. Yeah, it's definitely very, very important work that, whether you're in med device, you're in pharma, you're in the OTC side, U.S. healthcare has never been, more critical to our patient population. So it's a very rewarding industry to be a part of, and it's constantly changing and constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And I think for the better.
Right.
So yeah, it's fun to be part of.
Yeah. We'll get to be a part of the Kiss a Pig Gala tomorrow,
That's right.
raising more money for diabetes research.
That's right.
So bring us in, kind of how did you get into sales? Did you start in analytics?
Yeah.
What's that story?
Yeah. So when I graduated from college, University of Arkansas,
Woo pig.
Go
pig, I moved actually to Southern California, and I was a field rep for Newell Rubbermaid at the time, and I had a 10-store Walmart territory that I called on and sort of like schlepped Rubbermaid containers, and we had tools, and we had food storage, and we had all these things.
Let's go.
You must have been on the back, like the very back end of in-store reps working for CPGs.
Yeah, absolutely. The program only lasted about a year and a half, honestly. So it was great sort of training that I think even to this day still impacts me about, like, at the end of the day, like whatever decisions you make as a supplier, as a retailer, somebody in a store somewhere in the country has got to like pull that through.
Yeah.
And you've really got to, the term eat what you cook,
right.
and get out there and like see firsthand what's happening. And it also really impressed upon me that the best ideas don't come from sitting behind a computer. They often come from being in the stores, hearing what people have to say, and then getting back behind that computer, looking at the data, looking at the research, and figuring out, okay, what could the solution possibly be? So when that program ended, a year and a half in, because to your point, it was kind of at the tail end of that, I moved to Bentonville and worked in our Newell Walmart home office. And I worked as an analyst. And so it was a fun time. There were a lot of analysts in the office. I got to learn very quickly from people that had been doing the role for years and years and years. And they kind of moved me around over about a year and a half. And I ended up landing on the writing instrument desk. And that was one of our largest, most profitable businesses, very SKU intensive, brands like Sharpie, brands like Expo, Papermate, Uniball. And being the school supply nerd that I still am to this day, who does not like to go back to school shopping, I, was advising our team just on a modular that was coming up. And we were standing at the mod, and I just was saying how, the mod and the data didn't look the same. The mod was one way. The data said another in terms of what people were buying, what was growing, space to sales was off. It just didn't make any sense. And so the buyer at the time looked at me and said, well, then just do what you think. And I want to see it. And I'm going to come back tomorrow. And so I just spent hours just rearranging the whole thing. Came back. He loved it.
That sounds right from a timeline.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back
I'm going to come back tomorrow. And I'm going to bring like my bag of popcorn from Layout Center.
Let's just
that's
do
like
the
half
whole
burned,
thing.
And I'm going to like.
You're going to smell like it all day.
Right. You're going to smell like the burned popcorn all day. And so they launched it and it worked. And so he just looked at me and he was like, this is who I want as my salesperson. And so I was never really
awesome.
somebody that was very, quote, salesy. You know, I just didn't have that way about me, but I was very passionate about the data and digging into the data to see, you know, you have hypotheses, go check it out. Anyway, so.
As a merchant, that's my favorite kind of salesperson.
Right.
Because if it's the data, then you're just trying to bring the customer's voice to life.
Yes.
And we're working on the same problem together, trying to figure out how to make what the customer wants come to life on that shelf.
Yeah, and you're going back and forth. Store data, and you're trying to kind of see, okay, what really is the customer telling us, right?
Yeah. What era of, the writing team? Is this Ed as the DMM back then, or?
Eddie Tutt.
Yeah.
Eddie Tutt.
I love
legend.
that guy.
A legend.
Eddie Tutt, Retail Journey, coming to you soon. He's got
that'd be a good one.
Come on, Ed, let's join us.
He'll tell you what's what.
Yeah, no doubt.
But you learn from people like that. And I remember him telling me one time, don't stop pushing us. Because there was something we were trying to do for years and years. And we just kept getting told no, and we kept getting told no. And he could tell that I was getting defeated and frustrated about it. But he just said, don't stop telling us what we need to do. Don't stop telling us the truth. And I do, not to like take a hard pivot, but I do think and I'll say a supplier community very broadly, but I do think that we live in a time right now where that can be difficult. But I think that those people who do the hard work on the front end, dig into the information, get out into the stores, talk to consumers, figure out what really is needed and where the gaps are, and are willing to constructively challenge their business partners are going to be the most successful. And I think that I was very fortunate early in my career to work with people that did that really effectively in a way that didn't come across disrespectful, but came across as like, we are all on both sides of the table, part of one team.
Totally.
And we have a collective responsibility to bring the consumer and now the patient, as we say in pharmacy, the solutions that they are seeking to make their lives better at the prices that they can afford to pay. And so I put Eddie Tutt in that category of people that were willing to sit at the table and truly collaborate and like get into it. So anyway, you're fortunate when you can find people like that to work with.
And that foundation is just irreplaceable for me. I think Eddie was that for me. He was a mentor while I was there. Jody Pinson, Scott Huff, certainly. Did you work with Seth Cordry?
No.
Back when he was there? So he helped me get into the buying program in general and was over there. But I think it's the courage of conviction and the
that's right.
Having the courage to be curious as you look at a data set, as opposed to like just finding the least amount of evidence necessary to support an assumption.
Yep. Yeah, and I hope that as like sort of the next generation comes up through, into the workforce, that they too will not be afraid to constructively challenge sort of what they're seeing and how we're serving our customers every day.
Well, we're recording this, days after DSS is being announced as going away. Walmart Illuminate will be the foundation that new merchants start with.
That's right.
I'm so excited for a merchant to start with data that actually ties together customer journeys. Whereas in DSS, you were using an analogy to try to figure out how units tie.
Dollars per store per week.
Which metrics in which stores, how do they potentially tell a customer-centric story? And at the end of the day, I still think there's nothing better than go talk to customers.
Because they'll tell you.
They will tell you. Store associates are incredible at not varnishing anything. It is that unvarnished truth you get day in, day out.
They have to live with it.
I love that so much.
You better get ready and just grab a seat.
And the diabetic category is something crazy important. So I got to buy the diabetes category.
You did. That's right.
very meaningful for me. And I spending some time in the store trying to learn from, what customers are looking for. And I saw a lady in the aisle sort of looking at these, 2 different glucose tablets, which are basically a quick introduction of sugar, quickly absorbed, so to get you higher when you're low. I was like, oh, cool. That's, what's, like, you mind telling me a little bit about, oh yeah, my son passed out again on the shop floor and wanted to, like, oh, what were his numbers? Like, oh, I don't have a meter. We just borrow our, neighbor's meter every once in a while. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is your life. And you're rolling the dice using someone else's, meter and test strips. At the time, I was trying to figure out how to rely on meters from $18 to $9. I think they're still $9.
I think you're right.
There's a massive, any merchants out there, how about 50% off an $18 item without any history? No one had done that before, so I had to fight a lot for that. But it's like, we can't not have meters in customers' hands. Like, they have to be able to know what's actually going on, because you're just treating with glucose tabs as opposed to understanding, well, what is actually going on?
Right.
Well, and I think also, in addition to just gaps in, affordability of drug therapy and all accompanying supplies, is just simply access to care in the first place.
Oh yeah,
right.
100%.
I mean, we still have a largely undiagnosed diabetes population. We have a big percentage of the population obviously lives in, medically underserved communities that don't have access to care. And I think that when I came into this industry, feeling very drawn to it, but not really fully understanding why. And as a few years passed, I began to realize that this retail access to healthcare was the thing that I was going to get really excited about, because, whether you are, someone who lives in a medically underserved community, or you're a parent of a child who's sick late at night, or just the reality is that care is not always convenient or accessible or affordable. But retail pharmacy and retail in general is beginning to fill that gap in really exciting ways, whether that is sort of the continued growth and emergence of retail clinics, whether that be the Walmart health centers, whether that's, little clinics or minute clinics, or, a lot of these clinics that are driven by the retailers. I mean, most people now get immunized at their retailers. Now you're seeing the emergence of COVID and flu and strep testing at retailers with, prescribing on the spot. And so I think that goes back to an area where patients want it. We as a healthcare team, all of us together, have to figure out how to continue to deliver that to people, not only because it's what they want, but to your earlier point, it's what's needed in order to help people live their lives to the fullest. And so that can happen, and obviously you did that on the OTC side of the business.
Man, I get so jazzed about that.
Yeah.
And like with Walmart, with 4,700 stores. Yeah. That could be 4,700
largely
clinics,
located
right?
in medically underserved, areas of the country too. So you almost feel this sense of responsibility to help, as you talked about earlier, right? Helping our partners to educate our pharmacy partners so they in turn can deliver care.
And so sticking with diabetes, typically adult onset diabetes is something that's maybe it's not sudden in its development, but it's sudden in its realization, right? And and it's pretty daunting to get an endocrinology appointment unless you've got a referral, which means you have to have a doctor to begin with, and many don't. And that's one of the things in the clinics is an A1C check. So you could, for whatever, $45 or $60, have an appointment. That person becomes your primary. You get your diagnosis, and you walk out of the store with the things you need to treat that disease.
That's right. And everybody's looking for help. So that's what we try to do. And I think that's what we'll all continue to try to partner up and do, and all the ways that, each particular retail pharmacy partner is different in terms of how they do that. So I think it's it's important upon all of us to be willing to be flexible as supplier partners to help our partners serve their patients how they do it.
Well, let's pivot back to strategic partnerships, building relationships with retailers. The two things that I think have stood out to me over the last 10 years of working alongside you is, one, your willingness and ability to really get into data, and in most cases it's asking for the data that you need, the way you need to see it, getting that understanding. But then aside from that, it's the relationships that you build with merchants, with the broader cross-functional team. Talk to us a little bit about your process when you've been in a few different categories, how you approach a category, and where those connection points are in building those relationships.
Yeah, I'll start with what I think is the worst thing you can do, which is like what I think I would see people do, and I think it's the natural default, which is like to lead with a solution, lead with a product, lead with, I'm here to tell you what I have, right? And I make it about me and I make it about my company. I think the number one thing that you have to do is spend a lot of time in what I call discovery, right? You, by the time you sit down to start trying to build that partnership, you have to know as much as you can possibly know before you ever walk in the door, right? What are they about? What are their goals? Who are the key players? How do things work? Like, really get to know that partner. And then I think the first conversations are always about what is important to you all. What are you trying to accomplish, right? I think at the end of the day, everyone gets cascaded a list of goals and priorities for this year, next year, et cetera. And you've got your marching orders. And so the people that can come to the table and help you accomplish your goals with what they have to offer, those are the people that are going to be successful. I think that that's number one. I think number two, you have to then, as someone in my seat, be willing to go fight on behalf of your partner for what you mutually believe is the right thing to do. So internally, I always joke, and I think any supplier that listens to this will just nod their head. Dealing with your own company can typically be so much harder than dealing with, your customer partner. And that goes for, anywhere. And it's not that everyone isn't trying to come from a good place, but everyone understands their own limitations, right? So it's about, how do you build a bigger vision for what you're trying to accomplish together, and what's in it for all parties involved.
Because you're kind of a dual advocate as a salesperson. You're advocating for your brand and you're advocating for your customer.
You absolutely are.
Making those two work together might take a few concessions or compromises.
Yeah, and being willing to challenge the status quo, be willing to challenge the way that things have always been done. But also within that, you have to have a very strong financial business case, right? For both sides. So how do you figure out how to make that happen? And then even interestingly, within retail pharmacy, I was just having this conversation earlier with a partner, then you have to figure out how to get it done. How are you going to actually operationalize that together? Which again goes back to
a salesperson is asking that question.
So then you got to get in the stores. How are we going to eat what we cook? Right? How are we going to actually do that? But I think so often it's very easy to skip over the discovery part and just jump to the solution, because in your mind you have a thing that you need to move forward. But a solution without a problem is no solution at all, right? So what is the problem that's trying to be solved, and then how do you work together to do that?
I think it takes courage to have the conversation on the front end.
It does.
I think it goes back to the layout center room, looking at the data, looking at the model, this doesn't add up. The courage to say, this doesn't add up. We need to do something that actually solves the problem that we're both aligned on. And I think the courage to step into that conversation is so critical.
Yeah. And I also think that you have to establish where everybody's coming from, right? Again, it just goes back to what are you trying to accomplish? What's important to you? Okay, right now I don't have the answer. I'm actually going to take what I've learned
Right.
here and I'm going
Honesty.
to go back. I feel like I'm giving away all my secrets.
No, it's fantastic.
But honestly, like if you sit in there and you say, I've got the answer right here, I don't know.
Right.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know that you have the answer? You haven't heard the question.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
You don't know the problem. How do I know this is the solution?
Yeah.
I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
For sure.
But it makes it more fun, and then everybody has skin in the game. And I think what comes out is like so much better in the process.
So let's talk a little bit about joint business planning, because that's
Yes.
kind of, you come in, discovery, find the need, financially tie both sides to this solution. And then there's year 2. And
Right.
then there's year 3.
That's right.
And that's kind of where joint business planning can come in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, with your best joint business planning partners, you're always talking a couple of years down the road, right? It gets back to like the vision casting. It gets back to, taking some time to just kind of dream together and say, what do we really think is possible if we could, have all the stars aligned? I think one of the times where joint business planning has also been the most effective is when everyone is unafraid to bring other people into the room.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes we all get a little bit protective of our territory and we say, well, I could say like, well, I'm the salesperson and this is the buyer. And, if it's just the two of you all the time, you're only getting 2 perspectives.
Right.
But if you bring, an operator and a marketer and, someone from digital, and I bring a marketer and I bring somebody from product, and then we all pull together.
Right.
We dream, we cast a big
love
vision
it.
together. Then we've got a couple of years worth of stuff to be working on, right? And some things are going to be shorter term and some things are going to be longer term. But I think that when you have more people bought in and you have more skin in the game, I was talking to somebody about this earlier, that makes a big difference in terms of cascading things up to leadership, right? It's one thing for one person to go up to
more
leadership,
advocates.
and say like, we need to do this thing, versus if 6 people get together and they go to leadership and they say, we need to do this thing, right? And so, but I do think part of the joint business planning process after you get through that discovery and once you sort of create those goals is you do have to get out there and you've got to sell to a lot of other stakeholders, right? And you have to do that together. I remember one of the programs that we did a couple of years ago, and we had to take it all the way up to the VP of pharmacy operations and get his buy-in. So we had to get the VP of merchandising to approve it first, and then shit. So you're like really having to get a lot of major stakeholders involved, and it was a huge success, and everyone was really happy. But it wasn't easy getting there. It took a lot of courage.
Yep.
It took a very strong business case. It took a very tight operational plan.
But if your starting point is a shared goal
That's
in
right.
the end.
We were all fired up, and we all really believed in what we were trying to do, and that will buy you some trust, I think, because I do think leaders today, executive level leaders they're looking for new ideas. They're looking for fresh ideas, and I think one of my favorite things about the work that I've done over the years is that it's been so collaborative.
Yeah.
And so it's never one person. And I think joint business planning kind of forces you to pull a lot of stakeholders in, and it makes it better and more successful.
I like your point on leaders looking for new ideas. I mean, that's probably always been somewhat true, but post-COVID, I feel like it's even more of a thing. We basically had 2.5 shared years of trauma and
That's right.
recovery and
absolutely.
coming out. And now one of the, if you want to call it benefits, and certainly COVID wasn't a benefit, but one of the things that have come about from that is there's a little bit bigger box. You talk about being outside of the box. The idea that, well, we kind of have to do it this way because we've done it this way. We've now done so many things differently that we never did before, whether it's speeding up Omni or online grocery pickup, delivery of groceries now, delivery of just about anything. That there is more of an appetite and a willingness to, okay, let's swing for the fence on this one.
Yeah.
Well, and consumer expectations have changed. Like we're used to being able to pick up our phones, press a button, and have something arrive in 2 hours or less.
Yeah.
That's the new standard.
Right.
Like if I get online and you tell me it's going to be a week, I'm like, I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right?
rewind 10 years ago, and the current reality is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think you've just got to keep up with, no matter what category you're in, the consumer standard, I think, has never been higher.
Yep.
And I think their expectations of value have never been higher, because now they have access to so much more. I mean, it goes back to healthcare, right? Like, I now, depending upon my healthcare provider, can literally just pick up my phone and talk to a doctor.
Right. Right. And that's a COVID innovation.
That's a COVID innovation. It's certainly something that COVID dramatically accelerated. So you're seeing retailers get into telehealth in a way that they never had before, insurance companies with telehealth. So yeah, we're very particular now, consumers. We're very we're very high maintenance.
Yeah, that's
more information. All right. Well, let's move to our lightning round here.
Ooh, okay.
So what in your business are you most looking forward to in 2024?
Well, some things I can't really share.
Okay, that you can share.
I'm kidding. I think that, so part of my job is I lead a team of people that work with different retailers. And I think that one of the most rewarding things to me is to see how those team members grow and develop. And the way that their skill sets are expanding, and the way that they're learning to think differently. And I think that is so rewarding. And as like we as a team talk about the things that we've all talked about, it's like things start to click for people. And they realize that, like, what we do at the end of the day, it's not hard. It just requires a willingness to dig in and be part of a team and do the work. Yeah. But you don't have to be some like savvy, savvy slick.
Well, it's funny, the things that go on the
salesperson or whatever.
The things that go on the resume are the achievements, but the thing, at least in my experience, the things you enjoy the most are the people you work with.
That's
especially
right.
as a leader, to see them develop and reach their potential. Like, that's the part
that's right.
that is motivating.
I love it.
That's right. It's very rewarding. And then I think also just, our industry in particular is just ripe with some exciting innovation. Yep. And so I think that I'm really optimistic about the things that, we're working on as a company. I'm very excited about the things that other companies in our space are working on. I think if you are a parent of a small child that was diagnosed with type 1 in the last decade and you had access to CGM, it was a game changer relative to friends of mine that had type 1 children before CGM. Right. And so I think that I'm just pretty fired up about some of the things that are on their way for our industry to help people, stay healthy. Yeah,
that's great. What's on your reading list?
Okay, I'm actually reading the Elon Musk biography by Walter Isaacson right now. It is a beast. It's a beast. And I don't know that Elon's management tactics are necessarily my management tactics, but you obviously have to give him an immense amount of credit for, like we talked about, being innovative, pushing the status quo, not being afraid to, rock the boat.
Boats are rocked.
He rocks the boat. Love him or hate him, but it is a beast of a read. I'm going to have to audiobook it at some point so I can get through it.
Yeah. Biggest win in retail.
Oh gosh. You know what I was so proud of is in my writing instrument days, this is an example. The buyer at the time wanted a Sharpie Black Friday item, but he wanted it to look like a pizza box. And he wanted all the Sharpies to sort of fan around. And you talk about the thing where you just literally had to fight tooth and nail for that thing. I never fought for anything in my career. I mean, it was complete departure from brand architecture. I mean, you name it, and it was a limit. And we got it done, and we sold through 80% of them by noon.
Oh, awesome.
And awesome. I just felt because I thought, if this doesn't sell,
praise God.
I'm going to have to shop my resume out there. Yeah. And it did, but and every year they do it every year. And every year I just beam with pride. Yep. And when I see the latest iteration,
still doing it.
It's like they're still doing it, and it does so well, and it makes a lot of people happy. And I mean, there was a lot of things I'm really proud of, but that one in particular just pops into mind.
That's a really cool story. And what do you do to de-stress, to relax?
Well, I do love to read. So that is definitely a de-stressor when I can. I love to cook when I can. But, mostly I'm in a season of life right now. I have a 10-year-old son. I have an 8-year-old daughter.
Not a lot of relaxing.
There's not a lot of relaxing.
Let's go.
I spend a lot of time at the cheer gym and the football field. But I think that, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily relaxing, but it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
And, you all have children, this season of life is short. And so I'm actually very thankful that I can do work that I love, but also be the kind of parent that I want to be.
Amen.
And I'm very thankful to be in a line of work that lets me, I think, do both.
That's fantastic.
To the way that I want to. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
This has been fun. You came all the way from Little Rock. I appreciate it.
Well, anytime. I'm just honored to be here and love you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as always, thank you all for joining us here on The Retail Journey. You can find all of our episodes on highimpactanalytics.com or wherever you download your podcasts. Thanks a lot.